Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the DFS Army Killshot podcast. I am Kyle Marley. With me is Dan Levy, host of Half the Battle. We're going to break down this UFC 271 card from a DraftKings angle. I'd like to apologize for my voice. I'm still getting over this sickness and any coughs I can't mute in time. But I'm hoping it'll be better than last week. I won't be quite as winded, but I'm feeling a lot better at least. And hopefully we can crush this week. How you feeling, Dan?
Feeling great, man. Props to you for stepping up again. Hope you're feeling better soon. And yeah, I'm excited to make some money this weekend.
Hell yeah. So we had one fight canceled already. The Alex Perez versus Matt Schnell fight is off the card. And William Knight missed weight by 12 pounds. So they moved him to the first fight of the night. So we'll start with that one. We got Maxim Grisham minus 180 against William Knight plus 155. This fight is now at heavyweight. Go ahead and break this down for me, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, the weight miss is such a big factor here, man. Like for me, especially because it's one thing to miss weight by 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 4 pounds, whatever. But to miss weight by 12 pounds, you got to actually look into the history of like what happens when fighters miss weight by 10 pounds or more. And most of the time they lose. I mean, Alexis Dufresne lost to Sarah Morass. Rory Markham lost to Nate Diaz. Kelvin Gastelum lost to Tyron Woodley. Charles Oliveira lost to Ricardo Lamas. Rumble Johnson lost to Vitor Belfort. So give me Maxim Grisham to come out here and beat this guy. I mean, listen, I don't think he's too mad about getting 40% of William Knight's purse. I mean, we're talking about a guy in Grisham. Not only is he Russian, so he's already not scared of anybody, but this is a guy that beat Alexander Volkov at heavyweight back in the day. I don't think he gives a shit. Yeah, give me your 40%. I'll whoop your ass anyway. So I'm going with Grisham. I got a bet on Grisham after the weight miss. I like Knight. Knight is one of these guys. He hits like a truck. He's explosive. He's tough as nails. I'm a fan. But 12-pound weight miss means either he's injured or he's out of shape. It does not mean he was trying to get a weight advantage. Weight advantage is when you miss by like 2 or 3 pounds. Weight advantage is what Alex Perez did. When you're the first guy to show up, you miss weight, you instantly rehydrate. You don't even take you don't even like go back and try to reweigh in, an hour later. That's cheating right there. Just, I'll give you my 20% and whoop your ass anyways. What William Knight did is not cheating. What William Knight did is he's either injured or out of shape. So I got Maxim Grisham here.
Yeah, the weight miss is definitely a concern. Injured, out of shape, both make sense. I think the two things that it would help, though, are already his two biggest advantages in this fight, which is power. Maybe he can get a knockout a little bit easier, carrying all that extra weight. He didn't have to suffer as much on a weight cut. And maybe his wrestling, he can have a little more success with his wrestling, hang out in top control longer. I was picking William Knight before the weight miss. I'm definitely not as confident anymore, but I'll go ahead and stick with my pick just because he's the underdog. We need to pick underdogs on this card, and I think Knight is one with a decent ceiling because if he's going to win, I think it's by knockout or he has success on the ground in top control, whether that's racking up takedowns or getting a ground and pound type finish as well. So I'll stick with Knight. Grisham is just a little bit too high priced for me to want to get to on DraftKings, but I mean, he knocked down Jacoby like twice in the first round. It would not shock me to see him have success with wrestling either, or get an early knockout. So I'm not against Grisham, but I don't think I'll be making enough lineups to where I'll be making him a priority on my hand builds. All right, next one on the card, we got Jeremiah Wells minus 240 against Blood Diamond, Mike Mathetha plus 195. Go ahead and talk to me about this one, Dan.
Yeah, so this kid, Blood Diamond, the Mathetha guy, that's his nickname, Blood Diamond. So basically, he's a former kickboxer, trains with Israel Adesanya. It's hard to gauge where he's at because I'm not convinced he's quite transitioned to MMA as well as, you'd want him to making his UFC debut. Because that last fight I saw of his, it almost seemed like he wasn't even like trying and stuff. And he's just lackadaisical, backs himself into the fence, throws some weird kicks. So we might just see a completely different guy this Saturday. That's why I'm kind of worried about it. Like in theory, Jeremiah Wells, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He should just come out here, take this guy down one time, and the fight might be over shortly after. But you also got to take into consideration that Jeremiah Wells, he's a wild guy. He's explosive. He likes to leap into a lot of his shots. This dude, Blood Diamond, with a kickboxing background, maybe he comes in here with the right game plan and has something for that. Because Jeremiah Wells, he's kind of a wild card. I've seen fights where he's stared at someone for 5 straight rounds. I've seen fights where he's gone in there against Warley Alves and looked like an absolute savage and a killer. I've seen fights where he's gone in there and laid on guys. So I have no clue what to expect. But if I have the video game controller and Jeremiah Wells fights exactly like I want him to, then he's going to come out here and submit this guy in the first round. So give me Jeremiah Wells.
Yeah, I agree. And we got minus 165 inside the distance on Wells. That's a nice number. Minus 500 that the fight doesn't go to a decision. So this is just a fight I think we should be targeting in GPPs. I'm not against Wells in cash games either, but yeah, I have some questions on this Blood Diamond as well. I think he could win an at-range striking battle. He could get a knockout here, but I don't really expect him to go for any takedowns, have any success on the ground, and I think that's where Wells should be able to dominate this fight. I mean, this guy starts fights with some haymakers. He's not a really good wrestler, but he can just work his way in with haymakers and then slam his opponent to the ground just because he's so powerful. And if he can get this fight to the ground, I just don't think that Blood Diamond has a whole lot to offer. So I do think Wells gets a first round ground and pound or submission. So I like him a good amount on DraftKings. And with Blood Diamond, I don't know. I feel like I need to get a better judge on where the field is going to be on this guy, because if he's popular at all, I'm not interested. But I don't think he should be popular, and I think he has a knockout potential. Minus 500 on the fight doesn't go to a decision. I think he's live for the knockout, so I'll get a little bit of him, but I'm definitely more interested in Wells if I'm making one lineup this week, and I have to use either one of these guys. Next one on the card, we got Sergey Morozov minus 210 against Douglas Silva de Andrade plus 175. Not one of my favorite DraftKings fights, but go ahead and break this one down for me.
So Morozov, he's Kazakhstani, but he kind of has that Russian coast type style. You guys already know from what I said last week with Shavkat, I don't bet against guys that have dead animals on their heads. And this is another one of those dudes. But you got to show some respect to D Silva, because, I mean, firstly, he's 27-4. That record alone is fucking badass. And we can talk about how Morozov fought killers like Evloev and Umar Nurmagomedov, but this dude, De Andrade, fought Peter Yan, beat Marlon Vera, has been in there with Rob Font. So he's pretty damn legit, but I think Morozov comes out here and wins a decision anyways.
I agree, and that's why I don't really care for it on DraftKings. We have minus 175 that it does go to a decision, and I just don't know that Morozov is going to be racking up takedowns as easy as he did against Taha. I feel like this is a very similar matchup to Taha, but Andrade's just more proven, maybe a little bit more power, a little bit better defensive wrestling, but I think Morozov is the minute winner here. I think he's the better wrestler, will have success in top control. I just don't think he scores 100 plus here, and at 9K, man, that 9K range is stacked this week. So it's just hard for me to get to Morozov. But I don't mind him in cash because I do think he gets the win here. And Andrade is playable in GPPs because he's a beast. He's got some power. He could go out there, get a knockout in any round, more ideally early, because I think he'll slow down as the fight goes along. But if he gets a first-round knockout, he's live for that optimal lineup. So I wouldn't talk you off Andrade, but overall, this just won't be a fight that I'm looking to target too much myself. Next one on the card, we have a fight that I am looking to target. AJ Dobson minus 115 against Jacob Malcoon minus 105. A lot of question marks in this fight, but I'm excited for it. I think DraftKings is the perfect place to use it. Go ahead and talk to me about it.
This one's tough because for this guy Dobson, we don't really know much except that he's a first-round finisher. But these first-round finishes have been so effortless. We don't know what the hell happens when he gets extended. Now, on his regional scene, this dude got finished by John Gunther. So I know it was almost a decade ago. So we can't use it against him, but I know guys that wouldn't have been caught getting finished by John Gunther a decade ago. So I do have to bring it up. Just like we don't talk about practice, like Allen Iverson said, we also don't talk about amateurs, but he got finished by John Gunther in amateurs. So I just want to throw that out there. And the reason I want to throw that out there is because this kid, Jacob Malcoon, he goes out there against Razak Al-Hassan. I believe he attempted 24 takedowns. Jacob, can we just go ahead and attempt 24 takedowns here? Because if we do, you're going to win this fight. Period, point blank. If Jacob wants to come out here and bang, well, that gives Dobson a chance to win. And we have seen Jacob get knocked out before. But granted, Phil Haas is a badass fighter. Phil Haas, has everything you'd want in a fighter minus a chin. If Phil Haas had a chin, he'd be in the top 15 right now. He's got everything else you want. And he even beat Imavov. Give me Malcoon to come out here and wrestle this guy.
Yeah, I'm going to be on the other side of this one. I didn't find film on that Gunther loss, and AJ Dobson also has a decision win in his professional career that I couldn't find film on either. I would have really liked to find both of those, but the one fight I did see with him and Gunther, he beat the shit out of Gunther. It was awful. And he's the one that landed a takedown in that fight. He landed a takedown in his Contender Series fight. I'm not so sure Dobson's not the better wrestler in this matchup, to be honest with you. I think Malcoon had a lot of success in his last fight because people didn't know he was going to be able to wrestle. I'm sure Razak Al Hassan was not practicing takedown defense in his camp, and it's just less of a surprise now. And this Dobson guy looks like a killer in round one. I don't know what he looks like after round one because I haven't seen that decision win. But if he doesn't go out there full blown, I think he does have decision length in his gas tank. And I also think he's very live for that first round knockout. I mean, this guy is vicious. He throws some big time haymakers. He also has nice, crisp, straight shots as well that'll put guys out. So I'm impressed with the limited footage I saw on Dobson, and I'm just much more impressed than anything I've seen on Malcoon. A decision win with 8 takedowns over Al Hassan is nice. He scored 115 DraftKings points in that fight. So I think Malcoon's definitely playable as well. These guys are the mid-range priced fight of the week, but I'm going to be taking more shots on Dobson. I think he starches this guy in round one, and I think he makes it look easy. And I also don't think we get this type of line on him against any, 5-1 fighters ever again. Next one on the card, we got some other newcomers. We got Carlos Olberg minus 265 against Fabio Charant plus 215. I think this is another good DraftKings fight, but I will be targeting more so one side of it. I think we're on the same side of this one, but go ahead and break it down for me.
Yeah, I bet Olberg here at minus 200. I see I've currently beat the line by 65 cents. So that's awesome. I mean, listen, Olberg went out there and he threw over 200 strikes in his debut against a dude named the African Savage, a guy who was known for his durability. But man, he might have cracked his durability because that fight Kennedy had with Dawoon Jung, it was almost like all the shots that Olberg landed, it all came to the forefront against Dawoon Jung. But I mean, just come out here and land 200 strikes again. There's no way in hell Charant can eat 200 strikes from you, Olberg. So yeah, give me Olberg via first round knockout. I mean, Charant doesn't belong in the UFC. The thing about him is he's actually explosive and he does hit hard. He just rarely ever throws, but when he does throw, you got to look out. So, the one time per minute he decides to throw that high kick or do a little blitz, hopefully Olberg's defensively sound in those moments. But aside from that, it's going to be target practice. So give me Olberg to knock this guy out in the first round.
Yeah, I agree. I think first round knockout makes a lot of sense here for Olberg. The striking is just two different levels in this fight. And yeah, Charant's not going to hold up to that onslaught that Olberg put down in his last fight that Kennedy somehow managed to fight through and come back and get the win. He lost with the second round TKO, but he scored like 57 DraftKings points still. So if you give him the win in that second round, that's 70 more points. This guy's breaking the slate. We got Olberg minus 150 inside the distance as well. That's a 60% line. I'm not against, 60% or so as your max on DraftKings. I like Olberg a good amount in this fight. He's under that 9K range, so he might go a little bit overlooked. But with Charant, I think it's kind of a submission or bust here. He has some decent chokes in his game, but I don't think he can go out there and just wrestle when he wants to, get the fight to the ground and dictate where this fight takes place. So I think he gets starched on the feet in round one again. 2 first round knockouts back to back. Well, I don't know if these are actually back to back on the card, but back to back breakdowns for me. Give me Olberg in this one, and maybe he gets it in 60 seconds for that extra bonus. All right, next one we got another of my favorite, if not my favorite fighter on the card for DraftKings, Ronnie Lawrence minus 310 against Mana Martinez plus 245. Break this fight down for me.
I mean, listen, this kid, Mana Martinez, he's got some serious one-punch knockout power, and if you watch a lot of his regional fights, he is deading guys. So as a fan, you're going to enjoy watching guys like that fight, and I look forward to seeing him compete for years to come. But this kid, Ronnie Lawrence, has the style that's about to emerge, that's about to take over the game. Remember how calf kicks were a big thing, which they still are, and they should be? If you can go out there and just attempt like infinite amount of takedowns, Like, dude, that is such a style problem for so many people. You look at Merab Dvalishvili, you look at Bilal Muhammad. Who was the kid this past week who attempted like
Maximov or
yeah. You look at Maximov, dude. Maximov did that to an all-American wrestler. Like when you go in there and you like attempt 5 takedowns, they all get stuffed. Your opponent is gonna be like, tired from stuffing all those takedowns, but you're still fresh and you're still shooting and shooting and shooting. Because it used to be a thing where guys would attempt one, give everything they have on that one, and if it doesn't work, they get discouraged. Whereas these kids that are coming up now, like Ronnie Lawrence, like the guys I mentioned, Maximov, Bilal Muhammad, Merab Dvalishvili, these guys, I'm telling you, just bet on these guys long term when you get good lines, and don't even ask questions, because these guys win fights. That style is so damn tough to deal with. So, I mean, Leo Mana Martinez has to come out here and knock out Ronnie Lawrence, or he is losing this fight, period.
Agreed. And that's what puts Martinez in play, is that knockout potential. But if he doesn't get that knockout, he's just not going to win the fight. I don't think he can put volume on the feet, because Lawrence has this nice movement where he's going side to side. It's just hard to get a judge on where he's going to be next. And then he could just shoot for a takedown whenever he wants to. And that's his clear path to victory in this fight. He landed 12 takedowns on the Contender Series, 8 takedowns in his UFC debut. There's not a lot of fighters in the UFC that can even, land that many takedowns in a fight without gassing themselves out and just getting finished late. Lawrence has that 15-minute wrestling potential here, the highest ceiling on the card, in my opinion. With that wrestling potential, he can rack up 10 plus minutes on the ground, and there's just no reason to spend too much time on the feet against Martinez, because that's where you're putting yourself in danger. I just don't think he's in much danger on the ground here. And if you want to test yourself in striking, do that in another fight. I don't think this is the one. Go out there, take your somewhat easy win. And I think the line is right on this one. He should be a 3-1 favorite. Give me a lot of Lawrence on DraftKings. He'll probably be my highest owned guy on the entire card. I'm definitely okay with some hedges on Martinez, but I just don't think I'm going to have enough hand-built lineups where I'll get there myself. That would be more of a 150 type in the mini-max for me if I go that route. But I can't wait for that card. For that fight. I'm excited for Lawrence's future, and he is, as we like to call, DraftKings gold. Next one on the card, we got Kyler Phillips. He is up to minus 435 now against Marcelo Rojo, plus 330. This should be a high-paced, fun fight. Go ahead and break it down for me.
Yeah, look, Kyler Phillips, explosive, dynamic, good everywhere the fight goes. The kind of trouble he's going to run into is just he goes so damn hard that as a result, he's going to slow down sometimes in fights, like his last 2 fights especially. But I think he's on a different level than Rojo. The only thing with Rojo is that he is one of these tough Latin warriors. And I kind of think that's just going to be that fight where, Kyler comes out here and he wins a clear decision, but Rojo gains everybody's respect because he eats the shots and keeps walking forward and just fights like a tough Latin warrior that he is. So, yeah, Kyler probably wins a decision. Not sure if he looks minus 400. But Rojo gains everybody's respect.
Yeah, I dig it. I'm definitely on the Phillips side of this one. I just think he's much better anywhere this fight goes. But with Rojo, if he wins this fight, he's going to score a lot of points because it should be high-paced. Maybe he could tire Phillips out, get a late finish, or just win a decision. If he wins a decision, he's for sure going to have 10x or more just because he's so cheap. And then Phillips, he doesn't need a finish either just because he's so high-paced. If he could put that together for 15 minutes, this guy's got a nice ceiling. But I think he gets a finish, whether that be a submission or a knockout. I think it comes in round 1 or round 2. So I think Phillips is a great play on DraftKings. I'm not against Rojo, but I don't see me really clicking on his name too much for hand builds either. That's another guy that I'm cool sprinkling in with 150 lineups. But if I'm making, 10 or less lineups going for that 150K, I just don't know that Rojo is going to be making it, whereas I want exposure to Kyler Phillips. My only issue getting to him is that I love the 9K range. I don't know how much of each of those guys that I can afford. And if I had to choose between Phillips and Lawrence, I'd rather save the $100 and go down to Lawrence. So maybe that takes away a little bit of the Phillips exposure that I would like to get, but we'll see. I haven't really built too many lineups yet. All right. What's next on this card? We got Casey O'Neill What's she up to now? Minus 400 against Roxanne Mataferry, plus 300. O'Neal has 3 finishes in the UFC. She has not scored less than 110 DraftKings points. So far, she has been DraftKings gold, but I don't know that that continues in this one. I think it's very possible she could put up that type of score. But I've also heard that she wants to go out there and knock out Roxy. And if she wants to go out there and strike for 3 rounds, she's not going to put up 100 plus points unless she does get a knockout, which hasn't really happened before. So break this one down for me.
Well, the thing about this matchup is that O'Neal is usually known for taking people down, passing their guard, getting on top in full mount, or taking the back and either choking them out or pounding them out. And the issue with that here is, like, I get Roxanne's retiring, but just because she's retiring, that doesn't mean all of a sudden she forgot how to grapple. Like, no one in the top 15 finished her. Like, the last time she got finished was fucking 12 years ago. Like, you know what kind of shit was going on 12 years ago? You know what I'm saying, dude? I wonder if I was even bald 12 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't give a fuck. Like, so basically what I'm trying to get down to is this. Like, I'm getting distracted. Like, minus 400 or whatever. Like, that means that she's going to come out here and just destroy her. I mean, I lean O'Neal just because I think she's younger and hungrier, but I'm thinking O'Neal by decision, just kind of taking her down, controlling her, kind of neutralizing her. I really don't think Roxy gets finished, but if she does, then this will be one of the, the bigger favorites that you should be targeting. I just personally don't think it's going to be a finish. I think it's going to be a decision.
I agree. I picked O'Neal by decision, and I think she does go out there and strikes more than she really needs to. I think she has the edge on the feet. She can win there, but that's just not going to lead to a high DraftKings score. So I'm not going to end up getting as much O'Neal as I would like, I'm sure. I'd probably rather pay down for Phillips and Lawrence, but I want to mix them all in as much as I can. If I could be overweight to all 3, I would. I just don't think that I'll be able to do that because of how expensive they are, and I don't love the sub 7K range to help me really get to that stars and scrubs approach. But yeah, I think O'Neal's just better everywhere. I think she probably spends too much time on the feet, wins a striking decision, and doesn't put up 100 DraftKings points. But I think she's a fine play in all formats. And then when Roxy wins, Roxy scores. Her path to victory would be to get takedowns and hang out in top control. If she can get a takedown, she's great at hanging out in top control. She's heavy in top and just put the top position. And I think she could have success doing that. I just don't really see it happen. I think O'Neal's going to be the better wrestler. And if anyone takes this fight to the ground, then that's where O'Neal's ceiling comes from, because she could put up a lot of strikes on the ground, a lot of control time, and maybe get a ground and pound finish, something like that. But I don't know. I'll kind of let the domination station control what I do over on DFSarmy.com. If you haven't signed up yet, promo code Sleeveless will save you 10% every month that you stick around. We got the big game on Sunday. We got NBA going strong, and then NASCAR just started. That might be our biggest edge sport that we have. So great time to sign up. I think you guys will like it if you haven't done so yet. Next one on the card, we got Andre Arlovski minus 155 against Jared Vanderaa plus 135. Go ahead and talk to me about this.
I mean, look, man, it's another Andre Arlovski fight. Usually you got to pay minus 300 to fade Arlovski, but usually you got a more experienced guy on the other side. This kid, Jared Vanderaa, and I say kid, he's still in his 20s. Nowhere near as experienced. It's just about, at some point, one of these young guys can come out here and probably beat Arlovski. Arlovski is 43, but they are heavyweights, so it's not like he's 43 at fucking bantamweight or something, right? I mean, give me Arlovski to come out here. The only thing that concerns me more than the age, more than anything, is just stylistically. Arlovski is known for being a volume guy, and that's actually what that's like the only thing Jared Vanderaa is. The difference, though, however, is that I think Vanderaa is going to be like more like leg kicks, and I think he's a little bit slower. So I got Arlovski to win a decision here. I'm just not necessarily comfortable at the betting window or at the daily fantasy sports betting or on daily fantasy sports. Excuse me.
Yeah, Arlovski's my fade of the week. I have trouble paying up for Arlovski when we have, minus 175 that the fight goes to a decision. I just don't know. Minus 190 now that the fight goes to a decision. And I just don't think there's a ceiling in Arlovski unless he gets a knockout. So I would rather pay for any other favorite on this card on DraftKings and hope that Arlovski does not get the knockout, because if he wins a decision, even if it is, one of his higher paced type of decisions, I still don't think he gets much more than 10x, if even 10x here. It's going to be a lot easier for the underdog to hit 10x, but I don't think Vanderaa has much of a ceiling either unless he gets a knockout. So overall, it's just not really going to be a fight that I look to target, but it will be dog or pass for me, really, in all formats. DraftKings, betting, anywhere. I just couldn't lay that type of price on Arlovski when it seems like he is a very popular pick this week. Just prediction wise on different sites. All right. Next one on the card, we got Renato Moicano minus 160 against Alex Hernandez plus 140. Break this one down for me, Dan.
Yeah, listen, man. I've said it since the beginning. I still think that Alex Hernandez versus Beneil Dariush fight is one of the biggest flukes I've ever seen. I truly believe if they ever ran it back, which they won't because one guy's top 3 and one guy won't ever sniff the rankings, but if they ever ran it back, I think Benny wins that fight 9 times out of 10. Props to Alex for catching him the one time it mattered, like straight up. But that fight was not any indicator of things to come because he chokes in every big fight he's had. Now, on record, it says he beat Trinaldo, and that happened to also be in Texas here. But if you watch that fight, anybody that watches that fight knows Trinaldo won that fight. And then to take it a step further, I just haven't really been seeing the improvements I want to see. So basically, he's a sprinter. He can knock guys out in the first round. That's what you got to look out for with Moicano. Moicano's chin has been tested more than once, but his chin has been tested by guys that are, Jose Aldo, an all-time great, Korean Zombie, a guy who was literally fighting for a UFC world title, and Rafael Fiziev, a guy who's probably going to fight for a title in the next year. These guys are on a completely different level than Alexander Hernandez, but that's still Alex's path. So Alex, first round KO or bust. My pick is Renato, man. I mean, we can't forget that Renato, obviously we know about his black belt in jiu-jitsu, but he also went out there and outstruck Calvin Kattar for 3 rounds, man. He dropped Cub Swanson with a jab. Like, don't sleep on his stand-up either, man. So, yeah, give me Renato to come out here and have a big win.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just think Renato is the better all-around fighter here. He's going to be the minute winner, whether it's striking or on the ground. I think he is the better striker. He's the better grappler as well. The only advantages I give to Hernandez are power and durability, and that's his path. If he gets the first-round knockout, then he's on that 150K lineup. So I think we do need some Hernandez and GPPs here. But Moicano's a guy that probably gets overlooked just because he doesn't really show as much of a ceiling unless he does go out there, have a lot of grappling success, where I don't know if he can get Hernandez down, 6+ times in this fight, but maybe he only needs to get him down once or twice and he can lock up a submission. I think his grappling is that good. And if he stays conscious in this fight, he's going to win. So I'm on the Moicano side, and ownership reasons, I think he'll be somewhat lower owned and Hernandez will be somewhat popular as an underdog. So I'll be overweight to Moicano and slightly underweight to Hernandez, I would guess. Next one on the card, we got a close one with Bobby Green minus 150 against Nasrat Haqparast plus 130. Go ahead and break this one down for me.
Yeah, I got Bobby in this one, and I actually bet on Bobby. This is the first time I've bet on Bobby since the plus 250 Bobby Green against Josh Thompson back in like 2014. So I haven't, been a victim of the so-called robbery, split decisions, and this and that. So I don't have any bad taste in my mouth from betting on Bobby Green fights that other people might have coming into this. And for what it's worth, I actually think that Bobby lost all those fights that he lost. And to take it a step further, Kyle Marley, he was a big underdog in all but one of those fights that he lost by split decision. The only time he's ever lost as a favorite was against Thiago Moises, and in hindsight, probably shouldn't have been minus 300 in that spot. But I think this fight is better lined with him being a slight favorite, minus 135-ish. And look, Nasrat, the reality of what happened was this dude was full of confidence. This dude was pressuring guys, but Dober, ever since the Dober fight, now the kid's backing up. Now he's nowhere near as confident, and I don't like what I've been seeing from him. I haven't seen the improvements I've wanted to see, because at one point he was viewed as a very bright prospect, but I kind of feel that Dober took his confidence away, and he just hasn't looked the same since. I didn't see that same killer in the Rafa Garcia fight. I didn't see that same killer in the Dan Hooker fight. So I've seen the same Bobby Green has been consistent forever, man. So give me Bobby Green to come out here, outland this kid. And as long as he doesn't get knocked out, because Nasrat does hit hard. You gotta respect that big left hand, but I just don't think you can back up and try to time the perfect left hand on a guy like Bobby Green. Like, you watch that Fiziev fight, and I definitely scored it for Fiziev. Like, let's not bullshit here. Fiziev won that fight, but there were numbers put up in a fight like that, man. I mean, Bobby Green threw like 143 significant strikes in a fight like that. Like, that's just a pace and a level that Nasrat's simply not on. Period. So yeah, give me Bobby Green to win this fight.
Yeah, I don't hate it. And when Bobby Green wins, he usually scores well on DraftKings as well. He's only 8,400 this weekend, so I think he's a fine play, and I would expect him to put up 10x if he is able to win 2 or 3 rounds here, even on the scorecards. And if he gets a knockout, even better. But I went with Hackprast on this one. I just see this being a really close fight where it stays striking for the majority of the time, and I think it would be like a split decision either way. So that's what led me to the underdog side of this. Was just the plus next to his name, really. But I'm definitely fine with Green being a slight favorite here. I wouldn't talk anybody off either side, but for me, I'm going to get to more hack press lineups just because he's an underdog. We have to have underdogs in our lineups, and I want to get to that 9K range as much as I can, which is going to take me off of Bobby Green. I would rather pay a little bit less for AJ Dobson, who I think can put up a first-round finish, where I don't think that that's Green's best path to victory here. So I'm going to take hack press in this one, but overall, it's just not going to be a fight that I look to target too much on DraftKings because I think it's a split decision. And if it's, a back and forth fight for the whole 15 minutes, I don't think either one puts up a real large score in this one. But it should be fun. Can't wait for it. Next one on the card, we got Jared Cannonier minus 160 against Derek Brunson plus 140. Brunson's been coming through as the underdog at the betting window. You think he could do it again?
I'm not sure, man, because I'm not on this whole blonde Brunson train at all, honestly. Like, I'm not, like, it just doesn't impress me that he beat Elias Theodoro, Ian Heinisch, like Edmund Shabazian turned out to be a complete and total fraud. Darren Till has been stealing taxi cabs and fucking going on coke binges and throwing less than one strike against Tyron Woodley. So this whole win streak's been inflated to a point, man, where now he's actually fighting a real top 5 guy. Like, Jared Cannon, this ain't Elias Theodoro flailing limbs anymore. This ain't Darren Till doing coke in the back. This ain't these guys that can't wrestle. Like, Jared Cannonier can stuff. Jared Cannonier can knock people out. And I think Saturday night he's about to remind people why prior to this win streak we were saying, about Brunson running in with his chin straight up in the air. Like that, just because he got a little bit more patient against lesser competition doesn't mean that those holes have been patched up. And now he's talking about retirement. Give me Cannonier to come out here and knock out Brunson.
Yeah, I think that's his best path to victory here, but I think that's his only path to a high score on DraftKings is to knock out Brunson. Brunson has been chinny. Even in these wins, he's been getting cracked. I bet him in the Till fight, and I was getting real nervous in that third round when he was starting to slow down. I thought he was about to lose it, and luckily he got one more takedown, finished the deal. I don't know that the takedowns will come quite as easy against Cannonier, but that's the path to victory for Brunson here. He does not need a finish to score 100-plus points. He scored over 100 points in his last 3 fights. And I'm going to stick with Brunson in this one. I'm just not a huge Cannonier believer. The guy just came off of a 5-round win against Gastelum. He scored 74 DraftKings points. At this price, go ahead and just lose if you're going to score that much in 5 rounds. I'm not going to be paying up for too much Cannonier, but I think he is very live for that knockout. I can't get behind his line. There's a lot of people who are live for knockouts in this fight. I would rather go with somebody like Olberg, who I just feel a little bit more confident in that knockout coming and probably early in the fight. I think the wrestling could be very successful for Brunson early in this fight, but I'm worried about him slowing down. He could get cracked in any round and go down. But I think the striking would be somewhat close in round 1 as long as, Brunson's chin holds up. Give me Brunson in this one. He'll be the one that I'm overweight to in GPPs. I don't love his floor because he could get starched in round 1 and score 0 DraftKings points. So I don't love him for cash games, but he is somebody that I'm looking to target in GPPs for sure.
Let me say this regarding the Gastelum fight, though. Like, you already know Gastelum is durable as fuck. You saw that Izzy fight. This dude can eat everything you throw. So I'm not sure if, like, I get looking at it from a points perspective on DraftKings for sure, but I'm not sure if he's the right reference point, because like Derek probably can't eat all the shots that Kelvin ate. Like I saw Kelvin get hit by shots by Izzy and all these other guys. It's like, dude, like why doesn't this guy get knocked out? It's crazy. Whereas Derek's been knocked out like 5-6 times.
Yeah, but he just doesn't score if he doesn't get a knockout. He had 64 DraftKings points in a decision win against Kulaba. That's pretty pathetic as well. What was his last fight? He went to a decision against Whittaker, 3 rounds. He lost, but let's give him the win. Let's put 30 points onto his score. He would have scored 53 points.
What do you do
not
with Jack though?
Yeah, his score. So he needs the knockout. That's his only way to score high in this matchup, because he's not going to be the one going out there getting takedowns, and he just doesn't strike at a high enough volume to score well in the decision. So it's got to be a first or second round knockout to pay off his price tag, but he's very live to get that knockout. He's got power in his hands, and Brunson has a questionable chin. I have kind of been on the Brunson train. Not really. I think I bet Shabazi in, or I had a bunch of Shabazi in on DraftKings, but I know I had the Till fight, and I wanted to bet him again in this one. I couldn't bring myself to do it. So I'm not confident enough to say that he's going to win to put too much money, but I want to get some investment in there, and it's going to be on DraftKings. Next one on the card is one we have to target in GPPs. We have the highest fight doesn't go to a decision line on the card, minus 550. Derek Lewis, minus 170 against Tai Tuivasa, plus 150. These guys are going to be trying to knock each other's heads off. I can't wait for it. Break it down for me.
Sorry, you cut out. Is it co-main event time?
Shit, yeah, it is. Derek Lewis, minus 170. Tuivasa, plus 150. Highest fight doesn't go to a decision on the card, so one we have to target.
Man, I don't know, dude, because this is that fight that like either guy could get knocked out. Real talk. Both these guys. I mean, I get that Derek Lewis has fought and beat the better level of competition. I mean, he's got a win over the champ. He's got a win over Volkov, Curtis Blades. I mean, he's beat like all the best guys. And then on the other side, yeah, Tuivasa, maybe he's fought a little softer comp, but you got to take into consideration that he's a younger guy, and those kind of wins are going to elevate his confidence to now he might be ready to be tested again. Because when he was getting tested against like JDS and stuff like that, he just wasn't ready at the time, right? He was only like, 3-0 in the UFC back then, whereas now he knows what the ups and downs are like. Now he's back on a win streak. So this is the best version of Tuivasa we've ever seen. He's live for a knockout for sure. It's definitely a dog or pass. It's just, do I feel comfortable having money against the UFC KO King in what I know is going to be a stand and bang fight? No, I don't. I mean, I don't feel comfortable having money on this fight, period. But I think someone's going to hit the deck. So for that reason, I do want that exposure to both guys. And Ty will probably be one of my favorite underdogs here. But in those lineups, I don't have Ty. I'm going to have Black Beast because someone is hitting the deck in this fight. Like I just have I just highly doubt they're going to stare at each other. Like that's the worry here, that they stare at each other. I just don't see that happening, Kyle. Like someone's hitting the deck in this fight. So I lean Lewis to win, but I want exposure to both because someone's getting knocked the fuck out.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd probably split my exposure fairly evenly in this one because DraftKings is the best place to get your exposure to this fight. I would say it's dog or pass on the betting line, but I'm not really looking to go out there and bet Tuivasa. He can go out there and just get murdered in round one, and it'll look terrible. I don't want the knockout. If I'm targeting this fight in DraftKings, I want the knockout, and I don't really care who it's from. I just hope that I have the correct combination with this fight in it. I would guess that I have more Tuivasa lineups because he's an underdog. An underdog I'm picking to win. I think he would be the guy that's more likely to land more strikes. I think his leg kicks could help him set up a knockout of his own. But yeah, I think someone goes to sleep. And if it's in round one or round two, then I still think they have a good chance at the optimal lineup, even if it's in that second round. But if they make it out of the second round, I don't think either one of these guys ends up on the optimal lineup. So I want some lineups without it. But man, that 550 that the fight doesn't go to a decision really makes it hard to fade this fight. So I would guess that it's in more fights. I mean, in more lineups than not. But I think that's how the field will be as well. And both guys will be pretty highly owned. So I'm not against getting away from it in like a single entry just to kind of get different. But if I'm multi-entering, I want a good amount of exposure to both these guys. But give me Tuivasa to get that knockout. No real confidence. Next one on the card, we got the main event, Israel Adesanya minus 280 against Robert Whittaker plus 225. Adesanya scored 106 points in the first time that they fought, but that included 2 knockdowns and a second round finish. So that was the majority of his points, was just those right there. I don't think he has 100-point ceiling in this fight if he doesn't get an early knockout, but talk to me about this fight.
Yeah, I mean, man, what a fight, right? I mean, the clear number 1 versus the clear number 2. I just can't go against Izzy until I see some kind of sign of decline, right? Like, and I haven't seen that yet. Like, with these long reigning champions, you just got to start paying attention to when they start getting unmotivated, when they start going through the motions, when they don't have that thing about them anymore. And I still see Izzy in his prime dominant. So I don't really see a reason to back Whittaker here. Like, okay, you see a number like that on Whittaker, that's the reason to back Whittaker here, right? Like, a number like that against anybody at middleweight on a guy like that, I get it. And Whittaker has made me a lot of money on his come up, man. I mean, I was out here betting him plus 205 against Jacare, plus 135 against Tavares, plus 125 against Brunson. So I'm undefeated on Whittaker fights, but I don't really feel tempted to take the shot here because I mean, 2 strikers, but 1 striker significantly better, significantly taller, significant. Like, just give me Izzy here to knock him out again.
Yeah, I don't hate it. And on DraftKings, I was originally planning on using Adesanya in this fight, but then I've been getting away from him. I think that the move is more so Whittaker on DraftKings, and I'd rather bet Adesanya in this fight because I do think he goes out there and wins. I just have a hard time seeing him lose this fight. I think Whittaker would need to have a good amount of wrestling success for that to happen, and I don't think he can land, more than like 2 takedowns in this fight. I do think he goes for some takedowns, and I have, a bunch of underdog fantasy props with Whittaker over 0.5 takedowns in this fight. They moved it up to 1 takedown. I still think that's playable as well. I just don't think that's going to get the job done. He's just too much far ahead of him on the feet, and I think the knockouts in play in any round. And I also think he could just go out there, win a striking decision, take every round. It's just that he won't score highly on the DraftKings cards. If that's what happens, he had. If I could find my mouse here, he had like 84 or 86 points against Marvin Vettori in their last 85 points against Marvin Vettori in his 5-round decision win. I mean, the Romero fight was just a complete joke where he scored 49 points in a 5-round decision win. That's probably the lowest decision win I've ever seen in 5 rounds. I would definitely not expect that here, but I just don't know that he hits 10x. So I would rather target the other guys in this 9K range, whether that be O'Neal, Phillips, Lawrence, Wells. I like them all, and even maybe some Olberg, because I think Olberg has a better chance at a first-round knockout than Adesanya does. So I'm moving more so to Whittaker as my preferred DraftKings play, just because he's so cheap and he allows me to get to those other 9K plays that I want to get to. And then at the same time, I kind of want to fade this fight because it's the main event. This is where everyone's attention will be going to. And if it's going to be 80+% owned by the field, I'm okay with just getting away from it and hoping that Adesanya wins a decision here and scores, 80 points and doesn't end up on the optimal lineup. Hopefully that kills off the majority of the field, and I can have, a Lawrence or an O'Neal or Phillips in my lineup with 130 points instead, and they make the 150K lineup instead. So that's going to be my path. Is I'm going to be underweight on Adesanya, probably underweight to Whittaker too, to be honest with you. But if I had to make one lineup and use one of these guys, I'm going to go ahead and put Whittaker in it, because I think even with a loss, he could put up 30, 40 points here and be okay. And if I can, score 100 plus points on my other 5 fighters, then I can still at least win some money. Not 150K, but I could profit at least. But give me Izzy by decision. All right, let's end this with our kill shot of the card. You have anybody in mind that might be a little bit lower owned that you think can end up on that 150K lineup?
Man, I was struggling to find underdogs this week. Like, I really am. And, I have a feeling Tuivasa is going to be a popular one, and I understand why. I mean, the KO upside is there. This is a really tough card. So I'll tell you who I have bets on. I have bets on Bobby Green, which I don't think that's going to be a finish. I think he's going to win a decision, so that's probably not a kill shot. I got a bet on Olberg, but he's probably too expensive to be a kill shot, but he is going to kill shot this guy. And then I got Maxine Grisham. That might be sneaky. Like I'm not sure
I can see Grisham being a good one.
I'm not sure if a lot of people will be on him from a daily fantasy sports perspective. And I think a lot of people might actually be sketched out to bet him because they might view William Knight missing by 12 pounds as an advantage. Whereas, I mean, it might be an advantage, but my opinion is that it's, like I said, either an injury or a sign that he's out of shape. So for that reason, it makes me like Grisham. So
I like it.
Let's go with Grisham.
And yeah, he could go out there and get a first round knockout, be on the optimal lineup at low ownership. I think I had him sub 15% ownership. So that would be a legit favorite kill shot on this card. Mine's going to be AJ Dobson. I think he goes out there, starches Malcoon in the first minute of this fight, maybe gets that 60-second bonus. So give me some AJ Dobson to kill this guy. Cannot wait for this card, though. We got 150K up for grabs. I hope somebody listening wins that thing solo. Good luck to you this weekend, Dan. Good luck to DFS Army. And good luck to everybody else listening. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.